When it comes to dating and choosing someone to get serious with, making that decision based on lust is a recipe for disaster. Throughout this video, I'm going to highlight the dangers and risks of being lustful. Furthermore, I have a case study to share with all of you that serves as a prime example of what happens when a man and woman try and get to know each other only based on sexual desire without having any compatibility. I'm going to go through the email of this subscriber and I'm really going to pinpoint where he went wrong so you can all see the mistakes that he made so that you can avoid this in your personal life. Prevention is better than cure. But let's begin with a quote that relates to the overall theme of this video. The wise are cautious and avoid danger, but fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. Proverbs 14, verse 16. Keep this in the back of your mind as I go through his experience. And of course, I'm going to keep his name private, refer to him as Jimmy and the girl as Jessica. Have my coffee for a second. The weather's been so hot here recently, so I'm having my iced coffee. Let's begin. I met this girl Jessica while attending a party of a girl I went on a date with once. There was instant attraction with her eyes and body language, and I was super into her. I went over to her to engage, and the girl I went on a date with, technically this was a second date, came over and said, I see you met my best friend. I wanted Jessica though, so the next day after a night of Jessica eyeing me non-stop and adding me on Instagram, I said we should grab drinks. To which she agreed. Obviously the mutual chemistry was there, the physical desire was clearly present. However, you're at a party of a girl you're already going on dates with. What you did was disrespectful. Now, if you were single and you weren't interacting with her best friend, then this would be a completely different story. However, her friend found out and got mad and the whole thing never happened. Put yourself in her shoes. Imagine you go on a first date with a 10 out of 10. For whatever reason, you invite her out to a party a week later, right? You're chilling there with your friends and you notice your best friend flirting with this girl and she's flirting back, meaning they like each other. Wouldn't you feel like, first of all, your friend is betraying you, and secondly, that this girl really isn't that into you and is using you, kind of like lowering her standards to even go on a date with you? Do you see how bad that is? But that's exactly what you did to this other girl. And that's why it bothered her. Remember what Jesus said, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. This is not a good way to go. This lets me know that your morals are not in the right place. And also, for everybody watching, Jimmy did tell me that he deals with a lot of lust and loneliness. You combine those two ingredients together and you have a man with very low self-esteem who's going to seek attention. And when you have no standard, what happens is you'll take everyone and anyone who will give you any sense of company, right? Because then it takes your mind off the things that are bothering you, the issues you need to work on, right? The changes you need to make in your life. And because he's so lonely and lustful, he's lowering his standard. He goes on a date with a girl. She's not really what he wants. And even though that girl is actually at the party, he turns and sees another girl he's more into and doesn't even care about how it's going to affect the girl he actually went to the party with. This is what happens when you don't know what you're looking for, when you date for fun. Okay? I want you all to understand there is a distinction between dating and courtship. And I made a video on this a few weeks ago, which I will link below. Okay? The difference between dating and courtship. Dating is about your own needs. It is selfish. What can I take? What can I get from this other person? And the reason why it doesn't go anywhere is because all you care about is the pleasure you will receive. When it comes to courtship, you're actually building a foundation for marriage, to have a family together, a legacy, a lifelong commitment. Meaning, when you place that as the end goal, you are already vetting the woman's character and background from the very beginning. Therefore, if you come across any red flag or signs of incompatibility, you can simply part ways amicably without wasting each other's time. And I see this with so many young people today. If you ask the average 20 or 25-year-old man or woman in the West, what are you looking for in a partner? What do you want when it comes to your romantic life? The answer you hear 90% of the time is this: I don't know. Relationships is one of the pillars of masculinity, and it is one of the most important areas of your life, men. It can make or break you. This is something you must be very intentional with. What do you actually look for in a woman? Because if you're just dating for fun to see where it goes, you're doing it from a place of emotion and lust. When you do this, you're going to turn a blind eye to the fact that this woman isn't a good match for you. And you will waste years of your life in a toxic or abusive relationship simply because you have no structure, you have no bedrock upon which your principles stand, because you don't have any. All you have is feelings of wanting intimacy. And that's not a good way to go. Versus the man or woman who's dating with the intention to spend their life with someone, they're going to be more serious. You see a sign that they're not right for you, you walk away, you keep going. Because when you know what you're looking for, you also know what to avoid, right? And then you can disqualify and discard those that are not a suitable fit for you. And you save each other heartache. And this is what a lot of young people aren't doing. But they do know exactly that every Friday they want to go partying, they want to get drunk, they want to hook up with strangers, but they don't know what they're looking for. That's not a good way to go. You want to get very, very serious about this as soon as you can. Can you imagine you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu, and after 10 minutes, you're sitting there, oh, I don't know what I want. Then you're wasting your time, right? Nobody goes to buy a car without doing previous research on the model, on the brand, on the insurance. You want to get very detailed and precise with what you're looking for. Because when it comes to relationships, very few men and women take this seriously. Oh, I don't know. And then you wonder why your dating life or your relationship life sucks, because you haven't made it a priority. And this is exactly what he's doing. Not to mention, he says this is technically a second date, but they're at a party. That's not a date. A date is a private setting, one-on-one, where you interact and get to know each other through conversation, through asking quality questions to assess if there's mutual compatibility or not. How can you get to know someone when you're at a party with strangers, loud music, you're at a concert, you're at a movie? That's something you can do when you're boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife. Not when you're interacting to get to know someone. So his entire foundation is wrong, and I want you all to see that. Oh, this was a second date, but you're at a party. It's not, mate. But regardless, you disrespected this girl with this Jessica. But I digress. Let's continue on. A year later, after recently becoming single, I hit Jessica up and we grabbed drinks. It was a very good date, and I kissed her at the end, and a second date was in the works. But I ended up getting back with my ex before the second date, and I did not talk to Jessica for a year. Wow. So your ex comes back into the picture and you ghost her. Again, this tells me lack of self-control, very lustful, low self-esteem. You're running back to the past instead of moving forward. So you're not growing as a man. Remember, if it didn't work out the first time, it's not going to work out the second. So again, because Jimmy's dealing with loneliness and lust, you're kind of rebounding. You go on a date with this girl, Jessica, even though you really like her, as you said at the beginning, you still run back to the ex because there's a stronger emotional attachment and you were not over her. This proves that you're actually too afraid to be alone and pick up the pieces and rebuild your identity, right? Instead, you're using the other girl as a coping mechanism to avoid those feelings of grief and healing because you don't want to do it. This is not healthy. And a lot of young men and women date this way. They're not over the ex, but they go out there, meet someone new to kind of take their mind off of things, kind of help them get over the breakup, or at least they think it will, but it doesn't. Not the right way to go. Fast forward to the present day, 1 year later, in March of 2022, I hit Jessica up for drinks and she was down, and we had a great first date. I invited her back to my place where we hooked up. He said there was no sex, but just making out, okay? And she showed high interest. She was asking what made me invite her out, messaged me when she left, and again the next day. Yeah, of course, she's thinking, why is this guy inviting me out after ghosting me, right? But she's also got low self-esteem because she's giving you another chance a year later. If I was on a date with a girl and she disappeared to go back to her ex, and she contacts me a year later, man, she's getting ghosted like one of those scam emails you get, right? Good riddance. So she's also someone who's very lustful, who also has low self-esteem. Interesting how that works. Like attracts like. But she messaged me when she left, and again the next day, and I used 2 other reach outs by her to set a second date, where we cooked together and went extra. That sounds quite fun, actually. She came back to my place and we had sex. The consequences of a hookup culture. Here you have a man and woman that do not value intimacy. They are partaking in the most intimate act between man and woman, and they're treating it as just another activity. But their bodies and minds can't tell the difference. They're still primed to bond. And when you do this enough time, and you fry the synaptic routing in your brain, those neurochemicals that would prime you to bond, all of a sudden will stop doing that. Because every time it secretes those hormones, you keep leaving to someone else and vice versa. So now you struggle to form an emotional attachment, and you must overcome that wiring. And you can really only do that through chastity, through abstinence. And it takes a long time to heal, especially when you've been living this way for a long time. This woman has no integrity because she's sleeping with a guy she doesn't know. Because a wise woman knows she carries the risk for pregnancy. Therefore, she's going to test a man to make certain he's husband material. She's going to be very cautious of who she gives herself to. And the fact that she's willing to sleep with a man whom she hasn't built a level of safety with, emotional connection, trust, or any love, tells you everything you need to know. And for him too as a man. A lot of men have this mindset now that, well, if a guy sleeps around, it's different. No, it's not. You're just as bad. A man that values himself, who has integrity, he's also going to be very careful of who he gives his seed to, of who he lies with. Okay? Promiscuity damages men too. Look at King Solomon in the Bible. The guy had over 1,000 wives. He went against God's word. And if you read the Bible, Solomon actually mentions that at the end of his life, he deeply regretted hooking up with all of those women and that it led nowhere. He ended up miserable, heartbroken, and alone. He damaged himself. This lifestyle is dangerous. Promiscuity doesn't just damage you, but it deeply wounds your future spouse. Okay? Sex comes last, guys. First, you need an emotional connection. You need trust. And especially for this woman, she's the weaker sex physically. A man can take advantage of her, use her, right? Therefore, an intelligent woman needs to feel a connection, needs to feel protected by this man. Is he masculine? Is he confident? Is he husband material? Once she assesses that and has an emotional and mental connection, then the physical is the last thing that opens up later on in a commitment in marriage, not when you're strangers. But he's a lustful man, so he's doing the same thing as her. Like attracts like. She left the next morning, but texts me an hour after she gets home. Then the next day she leaves to LA and I'm in Toronto, where she will be gone for 1 week. The day after she left, she's sending me messages and I make a little joke about her arriving so early and how I am the opposite. And she said we will travel well together. 3 days later, I went on a date with another girl. Really, mate? This is the bad way to go. And it happened to be her very good friend. You reap what you sow. It seems like with all of these girls that you seem to date, they all know each other. They're all friends. I found out after the date and after noticing silence from her, I confessed how I did not know and would not have done that if I knew the connection. Stop the cap, Jimmy. That right there is BS. So you're basically lying to her and saying, oh, if I knew it was your friend, I wouldn't have gone on a date with her. But if it wasn't her friend, you would have still gone on a date and she wouldn't have known. This girl just gave you the most intimate part of who she is, sex. And you've just gone on a date with another girl 3 days after she goes on a trip. Imagine if some guy did that to your daughter, right? Or your sister. I have to bring it back to that for you to see from an emotional perspective how bad that is. And what that says about your behavior, at least at the current time of what you were doing. Why are you going on a date with another girl? Didn't you just mention at the beginning of the email how when you saw Jessica at that party, when she was checking you out, you felt you were super into her? And he also private messaged me on Instagram. He showed me some pictures of her. She's a beautiful girl. So if you were really into her, why are you going on a date with another girl? Well, I'll tell you all watching. Because he is lustful. And lust only cares about meeting its own needs. It will disregard morals, societal boundaries and norms, because you're like an addict. You just crave the next hit of dopamine. Even if that means you go against other people, you hurt other people, you take advantage of them, you want it and you want it now. And that's all you know. And therefore, that's all you do. And now you reap what you sow. Because you put yourself in a bad situation because it was one of her friends. Obviously, she found out. And then you're trying to confess to her that, oh, if I wouldn't have done it if I knew that you were friends. But what if they weren't friends? You'd have never told her, right? This is where dating leads. Absolutely nowhere. But when you're dating with the intention to commit for marriage, that's your end goal. That's the principle on which you date, right? Courtship. You go on a date with a girl. You like her. If you still like her, you keep getting to know her. And if you don't, you walk away and you meet someone else. And you try again. That's it. But trying to date multiple people at once, how? How are you going to build a bond with any one of those women? It's not going to happen. Let's say you date 3 different women at once. That's 3 different names, 3 different family backgrounds, 3 different friend groups, 3 different birthdays you have to remember, 3 different likes, interests, and hobbies, 3 different schedules. You're all over the place. And this is what happens when you date 6s and 7s, people you're not that into, or when your lust isn't in check. But when you're a man and you've got standards, if the girl doesn't have these qualities, I'm not even interested in going on a date with her. So all the women that I'm not into, I'm not even interested in talking to them, let alone even look at them. Meaning I'm only focused on what I like, what I'm looking for. And when I come across that, I will date that girl. 1 date. If it doesn't work, I move on, then I go on to the next when I'm ready, when the situation arises. If not, I'm just as happy to be alone, focus on my business. And that's the way you should do it as a man and as a woman, to protect yourself always. But because Jimmy's so lustful, even though they had sex, he doesn't value it. So what is he doing? 3 days later, she's out of town and he's dating another girl. So I confessed all of this to her And she replied with a lol and radio silence for 2 days. No shit, Sherlock. I messaged her asking if she was upset, to which she responded, I'm not upset or mad. You don't owe me anything. But I'm not sure how to feel considering you went out with someone after sleeping with me. What was I just saying? I responded nicely and didn't hear from her for basically 2 weeks. And then she eventually reached out for drinks. So at least you pulled back, which is fair enough. But I can guarantee between this time, she's already mentally disqualified you as a man she can take seriously. Because from a woman's perspective, a lot of girls think, if I give my body to him on a first date, on a second date, he's going to think that I'm girlfriend wife material and he will take me seriously. Because a lot of women know guys want sex. Because they kind of look at mainstream and see a lot of lustful men. So mistakenly, fortunately, a lot of young girls are misled to believe that giving their body out is a way to keep the guy engaged. Instead of being a feminine, modest woman with good character, with an amazing personality, and actually build a connection with the man. But obviously, this girl has her problems, which I'm going to get into in a moment. However, this is what's going through her mind. Okay, I sleep with him, I go on a trip. Now he's on a date with another girl who happens to be my friend. Pfft, you know what? I'm not even going to take this guy seriously. However, she's reaching out again in 2 weeks because she's lustful. But I can promise you, this girl is definitely meeting other guys on the side. And definitely now. Because she's not taking you seriously. She's just using you for fun because she doesn't have principles either. But on an emotional level, it wounded her. Because she's still a human being, right? She still has a heart underneath it all. So we ended up going for drinks and I didn't bring up the situation. Had a great time and went back to her place where she took her clothes off, got on top of me and said, because you're a bad boy, you don't get any of this. I laughed, we talked about it, and she said she liked me, which is why she was confused. Yeah, because your words and actions aren't matching. But because she has low self-esteem, she's attracted to men that use her and take advantage of her. Because she obviously grew up in either a very unhealthy environment, or because she surrounds herself and is influenced by toxic and Jezebel-like women, she doesn't really know what to look for in a man either. So she assumes all men are like this. Because if this woman had any inkling of intelligence or integrity, the moment you did this to her, she'd have cut you off and that's it. You would never hear from her again. But damaged women are attracted to the emotional highs and lows. Okay, same thing for men that are lustful, men that are insecure, or men that grew up in toxic environments. When you don't heal from that, your nervous system, your body is primed for that adrenaline spike, those highs and lows. That level of uncertainty and fear. It's almost something you chase. And you kind of want to control it because when you were a kid, or from previous relationships that you didn't heal from, you never had any sense of control over it. So now your only way of taking power is by engaging with people that come and go, play all these mind games and tricks on you. Because you're operating from a weak, insecure, emotional level. And this is what a lot of broken men and women do. It's the lust, it's the damaged family, it's the bad influence, the bad company you hang around, and the godlessness, right? And it's like it's a mess, okay? You can really see that. So we start seeing each other more regularly, but I only reach out maybe 10% of the time. She would initiate messages, and when I respond, she would take some time to respond, like a couple of hours. But I figured she was playing games because of how she was in person. She was great, and I could always make a date with her. Well, yeah, she's initiating messages, but she's not going to forget what she did, man. Women do not forget, okay? So she's enjoying the company with you. She kind of like wants to figure you out and conquer you. Remember, promiscuous women are very easy to get and easy to lose. So she's kind of having fun with you, but she's doing the same thing with other men. And the fact that you're focused on her taking a few hours to respond lets me know that because of your insecurities and loneliness, You're hyper fixated on what she's doing. Whereas in the meantime, as a man, you should be focused on your career, optimizing your health, right? Grinding out your business, your side hustle, working on something you need to take care of. As a man, you must do, right? But instead, you're just focusing on the girl, which there's nothing wrong if you really like her, but again, you're kind of playing a game. I'm only reaching out 10% of the time, but then you're kind of checking to see how long she takes to respond. If you're grinding, if you're working, you're not worrying about these things. But the message pops up when it does. In the meantime, you're a man on a mission. When we were together, she was super affectionate, physically, always touching, holding my hand, coming close to me, kissing me. And when we slept together, she would always sleep on my chest or by my neck, kissing me. She loved cuddling with me. Yeah, she's promiscuous. She's only going to connect to you physically, but you won't have the emotional or intimate connection with her on an emotional level because the foundation is wrong. You're both lusting after each other. It's hollow, it's empty. And for you guys watching, everything I've mentioned thus far with Jimmy, has he mentioned anything about how amazing this girl is? How she has good character, good personality, how she's fun to hang around, the interesting, deep conversations she's had with her? No. The only thing he said is sex, lust. When is she going to text me back? When I was with her in person, she was very physical with me. When I saw her, I was really into her. It's all sexual desire. It's all lust. It's all attraction, which is great, fun. But what about on the deep level? Because really you're dating who she is in here, not who she is on the outside. But because he's only focused on meeting his own needs via sexual pleasure, he's not really diving deep into getting to know her, which is why all he's talking about is Jessica on a superficial level. If you really like this girl, and I'm not just talking about physically, but as a person, as a woman, man, you'd be saying great things about her. You'd be giving little details about the things she does. What a cool woman she is. There's no mention of that. But I mentioned I was going to Vancouver to see my sister, and I suggested she should come if she wanted, but I never pushed it. A couple of weeks later of seeing each other, she messaged me out of the blue and said she was confused about me because I wouldn't reach out, and there were 2 days when we didn't talk despite a great night. Yeah, because you're playing games. You're playing a strategy. What you're doing is disingenuous. It's fake. And she's starting to think, wait a minute, I like this guy, and he's just, what is he doing? One day he comes, he goes, and yes, because she's messed up, it's going to spike her interest, but only in the short term, because she's only going to reach out to gain clarity. If this woman was dating with the intention to marry, she had courtship in her mind, right? She had morals. She would be able to read you like a book, and she would know that what you're doing is basically playing mind games with her. And she would lose interest because she knows you're not the type of guy who's serious. Or at the very least, you're hiding behind insecurities because you're playing games. And this isn't the first time she's mentioned that she's confused by your behavior. So she said she really liked me and was excited to come to Vancouver, and she even started messaging me a lot quicker. He says here she was playing games because she thought I didn't like her. But you're doing the same thing. You're like purposefully, I'm only going to text her 10% of the time. And all of these little strategies. To a degree, yes, you want the woman to do most of the initiating, most of the reaching out. But once you build a bond with her, there's nothing wrong with sending her a message here and there throughout the day. You know, every couple of days. Hey, hope you're having a wonderful day, and I just got back from work. I look forward to seeing you next Friday, for example. There's nothing wrong with that, with having a conversation, especially if you really like her. Because she can sense it. Women are intuitive. They know what's going on. So at that point, after that conversation, I felt guilty even talking to another girl. So I stopped it all. Well, you shouldn't do it because you feel guilty. You should stop doing it because you know it's wrong. But it's taken you to get to this point for you to finally realize how bad it is. So at least you got there. The day before I left to Vancouver, she slept over, went home, but mentioned she was free in the afternoon. I messaged her to grab lunch and she said her friend was over, so I replied, no worries. Fair enough. Instantly she replied saying she wanted to see me and came over, where we had sex and chilled for an hour or two. But when I left to Vancouver, she was messaging me, asking how my trip was, saying, how was Chicago, baby? He said this was the first time she said anything like baby, besides maybe sometimes while we were having sex. So I was excited to hearing it. Again, you're so focused on the little things she's saying. But it's like the foundation is wrong. You're almost behaving like the woman here. Then the next day she went to a concert and messaged me, it was really fun, I wish you were here. Okay, seems like she's slowly warming up to you. And I responded, I can't wait to see you in a few days. Good reply. That's better. This is the type of conversation you should be having with her. We had some back and forth chats and then nothing for a whole day. She reached out later saying, I'm excited to see you. Okay, perfect. She comes and we have sex 2 to 3 times every day she's here. We do fun activities, taking pictures with me, one where she's kissing me, always putting the focus on the pleasure, the physical thing she's doing. That's what you're focusing on. And remember, a promiscuous woman can do all of these things, but still have no connection to you. Be careful. All of this I'm reading as high attraction. She met my sister, we had another good date, and we're taking pictures. Then we go for dinner where we were kind of talking about us. Don't lie to me, Jimmy. You can't fool the coach. You're the one who brought it up. Oh, we kind of talking about us. No. If she brought it up, you would have mentioned she started a conversation or she brought up, where's this going? What are we? You're bringing up the boyfriend-girlfriend talk. This is the woman's department. If you knew about dating and attraction, you would know exactly how to handle this. As a man, all you have to do is set dates, get to know the girl, and give it time. And as the emotional attraction builds up, providing the woman is emotionally stable, you have mutual chemistry and compatibility, there are no exes in the background, within a month and a half to 2 months of going on 1 date per week minimum, as she associates positive emotions being around you, she develops a sense of protection and trust in you. She feels confident that you're a masculine man that she can build a relationship with. Once she develops those initial feelings of love, which happens around between 1.5 to 2 months of dating, she will be the one to bring it up. Where is this going? Do you want to be serious with me? I want you to be my boyfriend. I hope you're not dating anyone else. I really like you and I'm actually ready to commit to you. In any way, shape or form, she's going to bring up the girlfriend-boyfriend talk. And if you handle everything right and you do more things right than wrong, it can happen a little bit sooner, but it will happen, providing those ingredients are there, right? And if you're dating a girl and she hasn't brought it up yet, it means either she's lowering her standards to date with you, there's other people in the background, she hasn't healed from the ex, or you're saying and doing things to turn her off that are kind of preventing her of deepening that emotional bond. So you need to give it more time. If you knew about attraction, you wouldn't need to sit there and ask her, where are we going? What are we? Let the woman bring that up when she's ready. And what you'll notice is when she brings it up, this is usually paired with the first I love you. So as a man, let her come to you, okay? Women have a lot to lose when they date the wrong guy. Getting pregnant, being taken advantage of physically, okay? Because the man is bigger and stronger than her. So women need time to develop those feelings of love. They take a little bit longer than men, okay? Guys, most guys fall in love by what they see. Most women fall in love by what they hear. Give her that time and space. Because when you bring this up and her feelings aren't ready, to a woman, she's going to feel smothered. She's going to feel like she's going to lose her freedom. This guy's insecure. That's how it's going to come across. And she's going to go the opposite way. And sometimes you can push her away indefinitely. Okay? So this is not a good way to go. Let her bring it up when she's ready. Okay? And even in the off chance that this girl said yes, she'd be doing it from a place of loneliness and desperation because she's got nothing better going on. If her feelings aren't ready, then she's not going to bring it up. Look at what she does, not what she says. So, again, because Jimmy is so lustful and he's only focused on his own needs, even though he's always saying here, oh, I'm reading high attraction, all he's looking at the physical. He's not looking at the emotional. He's not looking at the bonding. If the woman was ready, Jessica would have brought it up, but she hasn't. So when he's sitting here telling me, we kind of were talking about us. No, you brought it up because you're impatient, you're lustful, and you're insecure. So you're kind of scared that, oh, I'm going to lose the girl. I need to kind of make something happen. Whereas if you were patient, if you were relaxed, if you understood these things and you were doing everything right, you knew it would be a done deal. She's going to bring it up sooner or later. And when she does, you make the decision. Because at that point, she feels like she's had to earn you. She's worked to be your girl, right? She wants to be that woman by your side. Let her choose you when her feelings are ready. For those of you watching, keep that in the back of your mind. So he says here, and then I said, what do you want with us? And she said, well, we're not seeing anyone else. I don't want to see anyone else. I like what we have and it feels normal, no fights, no drama. But she didn't give him an answer. She didn't say, yes, I want to be your girlfriend, right? What was I just saying? She's kind of changing the subject. Because remember, women are passive. They don't want to hurt your feelings, right? So she's kind of steering him away from that serious conversation because she's simply not ready. Keep in mind, Jimmy went on a date with her girlfriend, one of her girls, after she'd given her body to him. So in this case, it would take her even longer to build the bond back up again because he's already created a wound and like a hole in her ability to trust him because she's always going to remember, he kind of dated my friend. This guy's probably not boyfriend, husband material. So she's avoiding that serious conversation. But again, because he's so focused on his own needs and he's kind of looking at the little nice things that she does, he's kind of convincing himself by projecting his own high interest level onto her, assuming she's ready as well. This is a man who's clueless. Okay? So there's no mention of her saying yes. She's kind of avoiding it. Okay? So we go home, have sex, super cuddling, and she kisses me while we were falling asleep. For anybody watching, don't ever send me an email with the word super cuddling. Okay, Pride Month is over now. It's the 1st of July. That has to stop. Okay? I don't want to hear that again. Super cuddling. But again, everything he's saying here, she kisses me while falling asleep. He's so hyper fixated on the nuances, on every little thing she does, because he's so lustful. But despite that, he's blind to see the fact that Jessica's already disqualified him as boyfriend or husband material because he's gone on a date with a girlfriend. The next day, I asked her to be my girlfriend. What are you doing? But she gave me some wishy-washy answer. She said, it's not a no. I don't want you to think that. I'm scared what the labels bring. I don't want to see other people. Translation. She's basically saying, listen, dude, back off. You've done things that have made me not trust you. I need more time to warm up with you. But every time you ask to be serious with me, it scares me and makes me feel like you're coming on too strong. My emotions are not ready. That's really what she's trying to say. But the thing is, this is the second time now that you've brought this up. The night before, you're having dinner. You ask, what are we, basically? She doesn't give you an answer. The next morning, now you're asking her to be your girlfriend, and she's saying she's kind of afraid of what the labels bring. It's not a no, but, I don't want you to think that kind of thing. She doesn't want to hurt you. I don't want to see other people. But then Jimmy says it a third time. I said, would you say we're exclusive? She said, well, yeah, we are, which is weird because the label shouldn't change anything. Just give me time. Now she's trying to help you because she's realized this guy is clueless. He doesn't understand how to lead a woman, which is why he's bringing it up. Because if she was dating a guy who was moral, who had his emotions in check, who had standards for himself, he'd be getting to know her, taking her one date per week, giving it its own time, and when she's ready, she'd bring it up because he'd give her the freedom and space to do so, because attraction grows in space. But because he doesn't understand this, she realizes this. And to a woman, it is a massive turnoff when she realizes that a guy doesn't understand her, because then she's not going to feel safe to be open and vulnerable, to seek protection and love from him, and really bond with him. Because she knows on a fundamental level, if this guy doesn't understand how emotions work, how women work, how is she ever going to feel safe by him, right? How can she truly be open and trust him with the deep things in her heart? And that's what a woman's thinking when a guy's behaving this way. So it's going to scare her away. But because it's the third time he's bringing it up now, she's basically telling him, just give me time. Now Jimmy says, she kept being weird. No, she's not being weird. You just lack understanding. But because you're so focused on yourself, me, you're blinded by it. You're not entitled to a yes, especially after what you did to her. Even though you felt guilty and stopped talking to girls later on, you've already left that impression. Okay? That's what she's going to remember. So she said, Jeff, what do I do? It was like she was asking me to help her with her decision, which was weird. She just kept repeating, Jeff, what do I do? Yeah, because she's basically told you 3 times in a polite way, I'm not ready, stop pressuring me. And she can see you're getting upset. She can visibly feel that you don't understand the answer she's giving you. So now she's kind of saying, like, what do I do? You're a man, figure it out kind of thing. Okay, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Mate, you've asked it 3 times, stop. But the good thing is he's reading my book, so he's going to learn about these things now. So we leave for Toronto that night, and we both went on different planes. She sends me a message with a heart saying if I land late, I'll see you later. If not, if you don't want to wait for me. I ended up waiting, and she was affectionate, touchy, holding hands, kissing. We went back to her place, made out, have sex, nap, where she sleeps on me, kissing me, holding me. Do you see what I mean? He's giving all these little details, like a man-child holding on to look, she's holding me and she's touching me. Mate, it doesn't matter. She's only connected to you on a superficial level. She's realized that you're the type of guy that she can't take seriously, but because she herself is promiscuous, she's, instead of cutting you off, she's just using you for fun. But what's happened is now you're bonding with her. So now you're looking at all the little things she does, thinking it's making her more connected to you. But it's not. We wake up and have sex again, kind of ended weird, but I didn't think anything of it because we were having so much sex. I left, she messaged me the next day, and then I set a date for the Wednesday. Monday, she texted me and asked me to go for a walk with her dog. I felt like she was less touchy. Was on her phone a lot, being protective of it when we got back to her place. We were cuddling. Man, what is this? Cuddling. All the time, cuddling. And I kept seeing her texting and hiding her phone. And I saw that it was from a guy. She kept lying 3 times until I said, listen, I saw you message this guy called Josh all night. Turns out 2 days before she went to Vancouver to visit me, she went on a date with a guy she had been talking to for a couple of months and didn't think it would go well, and it did. And she wants to explore it. So on one hand, she wants to see where it goes with this guy, but she's still having sex with you. So she's taking penises of multiple men at once. Yeah, good luck to whoever idiot decides to marry this woman. And this shouldn't bother you anyway because you're not in a commitment. But not only should it not bother you, finding this out should be enough to turn you off and make you lose interest in her. Until you have the strength to walk away from a beautiful woman, you will not understand this. If you can't cut off a woman that's hot, once you realize that you're incompatible, you don't have what it takes. You don't have any balls. So I basically said after a long conversation, go explore it. If it doesn't turn out to be anything, take your time to think about whether you want me. Then you have my number. So you're willing to get back with a girl after she's been plowed by another man? Really? It's not looking good, bruv. She agreed, and even said she couldn't just come running back if it didn't work out because that wouldn't be nice to you. So now she's kind of basically, in a polite way, saying, which you don't understand, I really won't be coming back to you because what we have is never going to work out. She's hoping you can read between the lines. She was cuddly, too much cuddly, kissing, sad. She even wanted to walk with me to my place. And during the walk, she was super touchy, holding my hand, kissing me, and then we saying goodbye. Throughout the entire email, Jimmy, you've gone so hyper-fixated on all the little physical things she does. You never mentioned her heart, her likes, her hobbies, what an amazing fun woman she is. Everything you're talking about is about physical touch, sex, lust, attraction. You haven't gone deeper once about this woman. That tells me where your heart is. It's not in the right place. She kissed me and I said, I just want you to be happy even if it's not with me. Then reiterated what I said about reaching out if you change your mind. I kissed her again and she said, I'll text you, which was weird because why would she? Then I haven't heard from her since. Now, he sent me 2 pages, right, of red flags of this girl, because this is where the story ends. Since then, he's been healing and he's realized he needs to take the time to be alone, get used to enjoying his own company, being chaste and abstaining from this promiscuous lifestyle. And he's reading my book. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a good success story from him in the future. So now let's go through Jessica's background, the red flags that he learned looking back from interacting with her. She lied about small things. I noticed she had 2 Instagrams, and when I joked about it, when I joked and asked about it, she denied it. Her friend group is an all-girl group that likes to go out and have guys buy them things. She has guys take them on boat trips, and some of her friends party with dudes for money. She loves validation and attention. Her follower count kept going up non-stop, which signals she was talking to tons of dudes. She also had fake followers. While she was offered to pay for things later on, she rarely said thank you or offered to put her card down, even when her attraction for me seemed to be very high. Because again, a promiscuous woman is just like a promiscuous man. She's lusting after you. All she wants from you is sex. She doesn't actually want to get to know you or build with you. But you were blinded by your own interest level. She didn't seem to be genuine at all and never wanted to do nice things for people. She seemed entitled. On the first date, she rambled about her ex, who after 1 year basically cheated on her. She takes bikini pics and other scandalous photos to post on Instagram. Not a great communicator. Told stories of having guys Uber them to their houses in different towns to party. She told stories of how she was sleeping with a guy who was later charged with assault. Every time we walked her dog, she would never clean up after it, leaving poo on the ground while in busy sidewalks. She never spoke highly of her best friend, even though she hangs out with her, and they're clearly best friends. Man, all of those girls were superficial. From everything you said, they were gold diggers, they were users, they would sound dumb and vain. Jezebels. And remember, if she's hanging around them, she's like them. She becomes one of them. She never spoke highly of her parents, although she didn't necessarily say anything bad, but it didn't seem like they had a great relationship. She went behind her friend's back to see me when she first met me. She mentioned that the longest she goes without sex was a month. However, when we first met, she tried to play off that she was a prude and doesn't sleep around much. Some promiscuous women will try and do that to trick clueless men into thinking that she's a good girl and she's hard to get. And she's not. She's going to use that. It's like a little faking strategy she does. She lied clearly about not wanting to see other people and went out and made out with another guy. Even though we didn't establish boyfriend and girlfriend, she felt okay to do that behind my back, while getting mad that I went out on drinks later after a couple of dates with her. Well, he says, this was also a red flag about me, I know. Well, at the end of the day, you did this to her, so you don't have a right to complain there. And he says, I feel cheated on and lied to. She wasn't your girlfriend. You were both lusting after each other and it fizzled out because it was just a sexual fling. And it wasn't founded upon righteousness, upon love, upon commitment, upon any morals at all, other than your feelings of physical desire for each other. You weren't compatible. You didn't have a single interesting conversation with her. You were living that lifestyle too. And then you've convinced yourself that you were somehow going to commit to her. You know? He said, based on what you've read, did she have high attraction? Yeah, she had physical desire for you, but that's all she had. You didn't have compatibility, therefore you couldn't build a bond. It was only ever going to be superficial and based upon lust and passion, which is great. You want someone you're physically attracted to, but if there's no substance, you don't agree on lifestyle, on politics, on religion, outlook on life, how you want to raise kids, where you want to build a family together. If you're a Christian, she's a Christian, right? You're a Republican, she's a Democrat. It's going to be impossible. You need to have common ground. You need to agree on the important things in life. If not, you won't be able to relate to each other, understand each other. And how can you bridge a long-term connection when your values are not aligned? It's impossible. So how does someone do that? She's promiscuous. Look at all the red flags you listed. Also, should I do something like message her or just wait to see if she reaches out? No. Delete this woman from your life, take the time to heal, get right with God, and then once you're ready, fingers crossed you'll find a good woman. Because you need a lot of healing, a lot of changing in your life, or else you will repeat the same pattern. So with that said, that's the end of Jimmy's story. And let this be a lesson to all of you. When you're very prideful, right? it takes you falling very low for a situation like this for you to be humbled. And that is when you're ready to learn, because you've gone through pain. And he's at the point now where, because of his experience, it's made him aware that the way he's been living isn't working. And it's time to seek answers of how to do things differently, the right way. Be very careful with the decisions you make, because they can shape you and mold you, and sometimes the consequences can leave a very bitter aftertaste. And prevention is better than cure. And as I say all the time, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. For the ladies watching, go the same way when it comes to selecting a man. Okay? Take your relationships very seriously. With that said, I hope you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families. Next week, I have an announcement to make, so that's going to be a surprise. And I'll see you guys in the next one.